Did we sleep together last night, Adrian? The question hung in the morning air of Adrian Cole's modest kitchen with terrifying weight. His boss, Lauren Whitmore, stood near the counter wearing an oversized t-shirt that definitely wasn't hers. Her usually confident posture replaced with uncertainty. For 3 years she had been the composed finance director who always treated him fairly, even when his life became chaotic after he became a single father. Now she looked almost afraid of the answer. Adrian's mind stalled. A simple decision. A ride home. Helping someone who couldn't stand straight. And somehow it had led here. A moment capable of destroying reputations, careers, and the fragile order he had spent years rebuilding. But this moment had begun the day before. 24 hours earlier, Adrian's only goal was survival. Quarterly financial reports were due before evening. His 7-year-old daughter Chloe had a school dance performance, and he was functioning on barely 4 hours of sleep. Being a widowed father working corporate accounting wasn't inspiring. It was mechanical. Since Emily's death 2.5 years ago, routine had become his coping mechanism. Wake up, pack lunch, school drop-off, work, pick up, dinner, homework, repeat. Anything outside the routine felt dangerous. The office buzzed with excitement about the company's annual performance celebration. "Cole, you better be coming tonight." Marcus from marketing leaned across the cubicles. Open bar. Whole leadership team showing up. Adrian didn't even look up from his spreadsheet. "Can't." Chloe's recital. Marcus groaned. "You've got to live a little, man." Adrian gave a small polite smile but returned to his screen. Living a little belonged to another lifetime, the one before hospital corridors, paperwork, and learning how to braid a child's hair from YouTube tutorials at midnight. His phone vibrated. "Mrs. Hernandez. Taking Chloe for ice cream after school. Don't rush. I'll bring her to the performance." He exhaled for the first time all day. Maybe he could stop by the party briefly. Lauren Whitmore had personally argued with HR to approve his flexible hours when grief made mornings impossible. Showing up for 20 minutes felt like basic gratitude. The rooftop venue was loud with music and laughter when he arrived. He instantly spotted Lauren at the bar, except she didn't look like the sharply tailored executive he knew. Just a dark dress, loose hair, and a rare relaxed expression. "Adrian, you made it," she said, genuinely surprised. "Only briefly," he replied. "Chloe performs at 7. "The famous Chloe," Lauren smiled. "I feel like I know her already." "One drink," she insisted. "You earned it after the Hawthorne account." He hesitated, then nodded. One drink turned into conversation. Conversation turned unexpectedly personal. Adrian rarely spoke about Emily at work, but something about the night, relief after pressure, loosened years of restraint. "Next month marks 3 years," he admitted quietly. "Sometimes I still reach to her side of the bed." Lauren's expression softened in a way he had never seen during budget meetings. "You've done an incredible job raising your daughter." He checked his watch and stood abruptly. 6:30. Lauren stood too and nearly lost balance. He noticed then the empty glasses. "Are you okay?" She gave a humorless laugh. "My divorce finalized yesterday." Adrian blinked. He hadn't even known she was married anymore. "I'll call you a cab." "No." Too fast. Too loud. People nearby glanced over. She lowered her voice. "I just need air." Outside, the night breeze didn't help. She leaned against him, composure completely gone. "No taxis. I don't want anyone from work seeing me like this." 6:40. Chloe would be scanning the audience soon. Adrian's heart pounded as he faced the choice. Daughter's performance or leaving his intoxicated boss alone downtown at night. He called Mrs. Hernandez. "Emergency. Could you take Chloe in?" She agreed instantly. Decision made, but guilt already settled heavy in his chest. Lauren gave him an address in Brookdale Heights, a quiet, expensive neighborhood about 20 minutes away. During the drive she grew quieter, staring out the window while city lights slid across the glass. "I'm sorry," she finally murmured. "This is unprofessional." "It's fine," Adrian said gently. "Everyone has bad days." She let out a bitter breath. 12 years, she said. 12 years married, and he leaves me for a 26-year-old assistant. Predictable, right? Adrian didn't know what to answer. This version of Lauren Whitmore, vulnerable, wounded, felt like a stranger compared to the composed executive who intimidated entire conference rooms. They pulled up to an elegant townhouse lined with trimmed hedges and stone steps. Lauren searched her purse. Then again. Then faster. Her breathing changed. My keys. I don't have them. They checked pockets, the car floor, every compartment of her bag. Nothing. Maybe the bar? Adrian suggested carefully. Her face paled. I can't go back there. I won't. Her voice trembled. Not with anger, but humiliation. Adrian checked his watch. 7:10. Chloe's performance had already begun. He closed his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of another decision he didn't want to make. Come to my place, he said finally. You can sleep there. We'll figure it out in the morning. She didn't argue, which worried him more than anything. By the time they reached his modest suburban house, she was barely conscious. He guided her inside slowly so she wouldn't fall. The living room lamp cast soft light over toys, crayons, and a child's backpack near the stairs. Evidence of a life carefully rebuilt. He settled her onto the couch, placed water and painkillers on the coffee table, and wrote a quick note explaining where she was in case she woke confused. Then he rushed back to the car. He arrived at the school auditorium just as the last group performed. Chloe stood among them in a glitter costume. Her face lit up when she spotted him slipping quietly into the back row beside Mrs. Hernandez. Afterward, she ran to him. Daddy, did you see me? He hugged her tightly. You were amazing. You missed my solo. The small disappointment in her voice hit harder than any accusation. I'm sorry, Bug. Someone needed help. But we'll watch the recording together tomorrow. She nodded, but the excitement had dulled. Parental guilt, familiar and unavoidable. At home, he checked the couch. Empty. For a second, panic surged, until he noticed the guest room door closed. He must have guided her upstairs without remembering in the rush earlier. Relieved she hadn't encountered Chloe, he tucked his daughter into bed and read her story. Only after she fell asleep did he quietly knock on the guest room. Lauren stirred as he opened the door slightly. There's a proper bed here, he said softly. She blinked, recognition slowly returning. Oh, Adrian, I'm so sorry. It's okay, he assured. There's a toothbrush in the bathroom. And some of Emily's clothes if you want something comfortable. Embarrassment crossed her face, but she nodded. Thank you. He finally collapsed into his own bed after midnight, exhausted by the emotional chaos of the day. His last thought, tomorrow would be awkward but manageable. Morning arrived with cartoon sounds downstairs. Adrian sat up instantly, remembering the situation. He dressed quickly and entered the kitchen. Chloe sat at the table absorbed in a tablet and cereal. Morning, kiddo. She nodded without looking up. Coffee started brewing. Footsteps on the stairs. Lauren appeared wearing a faded university sweatshirt and sweatpants. Hair tied back, makeup gone. Without her professional armor, she looked younger and uncertain. Good morning, Adrian said carefully. Coffee, please, she answered quietly. Chloe noticed her. Adrian cleared his throat. Chloe, this is Ms. Whitmore. She works with me. She wasn't feeling well last night. Chloe studied her with open curiosity. Do you feel better now? Lauren managed a gentle smile. Yes, thank you. Your dad talks about you constantly. Chloe brightened immediately. He does. Every day, Lauren said. Satisfied, Chloe returned to cartoons. Lauren lowered her voice. Could we talk privately? Adrian nodded and led her to the small home office. She looked around, photos, drawings, memories filling the walls. Her gaze lingered on a framed picture of Adrian and Emily laughing on a beach. She was beautiful, Lauren said softly. Yes, he replied. Then she turned toward him, tense. Adrian. Did we sleep together last night? The words hit like impact. What? No, absolutely not. Her shoulders dropped in visible relief. I couldn't remember anything after leaving the party. I woke up in strange clothes in a strange house and panicked. You were drunk. Guest room. Nothing else, he said firmly. Good, she whispered. I would never want to complicate our working relationship. He nodded. But strangely, the relief in her voice stung. Not because he wanted otherwise, but because the idea seemed almost alarming to her. Silence stretched. I should call a ride, she said. And we should probably not discuss this at work. Of course. He hesitated. Breakfast first? Chloe and I make pancakes Saturdays. She paused, then gave a small nod. I'd like that. Breakfast turned out far less uncomfortable than either of them expected. Chloe happily narrated stories from school while Adrian cooked pancakes. Lauren listened attentively, laughing in the right places, a completely different person from the intimidating executive who ran budget meetings with surgical precision. At one point Chloe studied her thoughtfully and announced, "You're not scary at all." Adrian nearly dropped the spatula. "Chloe, you said she makes grown men panic before presentations," the girl replied innocently. Lauren raised an eyebrow at him. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I might have exaggerated for motivational purposes." To his relief, she laughed. A real laugh, not the polite professional one he knew. "I encourage that reputation," she said. "It makes negotiations easier." After breakfast, Adrian found her missing keys, hidden in a small side pocket of her purse the entire time. She changed back into her dress and folded Emily's borrowed clothes neatly. At the door she paused. "Thank you. Truly. Not many people would have helped like that." "Anyone would have." "No," she said quietly. "They wouldn't." She hesitated. "And I'm sorry you missed part of Chloe's recital because of me." He forced a reassuring smile. "We recorded it." She studied him for a moment longer than necessary. "You're a good man, Adrian." Then she left. Monday. Adrian entered the office with tension in his shoulders. Would things be awkward? They weren't. Lauren passed him in the hallway and gave the same calm professional nod as always. During the department meeting she was composed, efficient, unchanged. Exactly how it should be. Case closed. Except it wasn't. Her question replayed in his mind. Did we sleep together? And the relief that followed. For the first time in years he realized something uncomfortable. The world no longer saw him as a man. Only a father. A dependable employee. A person whose emotional life had quietly ended along with his marriage. He had accepted that role without noticing. Until now. The week after. Work continued normally, yet Adrian began noticing details about Lauren he had ignored for years. How she tucked her hair behind her ear while concentrating. How her voice softened when discussing ideas she believed in. How carefully she protected her team despite her strict reputation. Friday morning, an email spread through the company. Lauren Whitmore promoted to Vice President of Finance. Effective immediately. The office buzzed. "Brilliant but terrifying," Marcus commented near the elevator. Adrian almost defended her, but stopped himself. He couldn't explain why he knew she wasn't cold. That evening, as he packed to leave, his phone vibrated with an unknown number. "Would you and Chloe like to celebrate my promotion with ice cream? No alcohol involved. Promise. Lauren." He stared at the screen. This wasn't a work event. His heart unexpectedly accelerated. He typed back, "Chloe would love that. I would too." The beginning. Ice cream became a Saturday visit to the Science Museum. The museum became a Sunday walk in the park. Weeks passed. Lauren slowly became part of their weekend routine, never forcing, never assuming, simply present. One evening, while Adrian tucked Chloe into bed, she asked quietly, "Are you and Lauren dating?" He hesitated. "We're friends." Chloe studied him. "She makes you smile like Mom did." He couldn't answer, because she was right. Something fragile was forming. Something he hadn't allowed himself to feel since losing Emily. 6 months later, Lauren invited him to dinner, just the two of them, at a quiet restaurant overlooking the river. Candlelight reflected in the windows. The city hummed below. Halfway through the meal, she reached across the table and took his hand. That morning, she said softly, when I asked if we had slept together, I was terrified. He held still. Not because I didn't want it to be true, she continued, because I was afraid I had destroyed something before it had a chance to begin. His chest tightened. And now? He asked. She squeezed his hand. Now I'm grateful you were kind that night. You showed me who you are. I've fallen in love with you. And with Chloe. Emotion burned behind his eyes. Emily will always be part of me, he said. But I've learned my heart didn't stop living with her. For a moment neither of them spoke. The quiet restaurant around them continued its soft murmur. Clinking glasses, distant conversation. But Adrian heard only his own heartbeat. Lauren didn't let go of his hand. I tried to stay professional, she admitted. For months I told myself it was friendship. That I respected you too much to let it become complicated. A faint smile touched her lips. But somewhere between museum trips and helping Chloe build a volcano for school, it stopped being simple. Adrian let out a slow breath he hadn't realized he was holding. I was afraid to feel anything again, he said. After Emily, loving someone felt like risking another collapse. I built a life where nothing could break because nothing could change. He looked at her. You changed it anyway. Her eyes softened. Is that a bad thing? No, he said quietly. It's the first good surprise I've had in years. She laughed softly, relief visible. So what now? He intertwined his fingers with hers. Now we stop pretending it's only friendship. Telling Chloe. He expected the conversation to be complicated. It wasn't. Chloe listened carefully as they sat together on the couch the following evening. So you're in love? She asked simply. Lauren glanced nervously at Adrian. Yes, he answered. Chloe considered this seriously. Far more seriously than either adult expected. Okay. They blinked. That's it? Adrian asked. She shrugged. You already act like a family. Then after a pause she added. Mom would want you to be happy. Lauren's eyes filled instantly. Adrian felt his throat tighten. Children had a way of resolving the dilemmas adults overcomplicated. A year later, the ceremony was small. A garden behind a lakeside inn, sunlight filtered through trees, a warm breeze carrying the quiet sound of water. No corporate colleagues except a few close friends. No grand spectacle, just meaning. Chloe walked ahead, scattering flower petals with intense concentration, occasionally checking that she was doing it correctly. Adrian stood across from Lauren, overwhelmed by how different life looked compared to the night she'd stood in his kitchen, asking a question that terrified him. The officiant spoke gently, but Adrian barely heard. He remembered the fear of that morning, the assumption everything had gone wrong. Instead, it had begun. They exchanged vows, simple, sincere promises rather than elaborate speeches. When Lauren finished, she smiled through tears. Strange, she whispered softly so only he could hear. How the worst night of my year became the beginning of my life. He squeezed her hands. Strange, he agreed. How the question I dreaded most gave me back a future. They kissed as Chloe clapped louder than anyone. Epilogue. Later that evening, after guests left and twilight settled over the lake, Adrian stood alone for a moment watching the water. For years he believed healing meant preserving the past untouched, keeping life stable so nothing could hurt again. But stability wasn't healing. It was pause. That night months ago had felt like disaster. A mistake, an awkward accident, a moment threatening to unravel everything he had carefully rebuilt. Instead, it revealed something he had forgotten. Life doesn't only move forward through certainty. Sometimes it moves through interruption, through uncomfortable questions, through unexpected people who arrive when you are no longer searching. He looked back toward the lights of the inn where Lauren and Chloe laughed together inside. And he finally understood. The moments that seem to break the life you planned are often the moments that quietly build the life you needed.